I would ask for a motion to approve last month's minute.
I'll make the motion that we should approve minutes from April 4th.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
No, look them over, they're good.
They look fine to me.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, I got an application for some people named Rohrer. And there's some, I got it while I was away, but she did say that they were gonna do some work.
Right.
So.
Better clarify what's
So,
that.
I know, that's my question too, because right on the engineering report, it says 4 bedrooms, so I don't know if that matters or not. I mean, how do you keep track of whether?
Right, well, I mean, I think there's I have like a preliminary sort of computer generated thing that they must have done, thing for the basement. I said, well, I reiterated to her today, I got it, it came the day I got back, so I didn't look at it. She said, oh, well, no, it's not an increase in bedrooms and it's not over 25%. I said, well, I think we need to flesh this out a little bit more. I have to check with the building department and bear in mind that if you do anything within the 3 years, we do grant you this, and you do something, you begin to do something in the 3 years, and it actually does turn out to be more, either 25%, which is being upheld, or it's actually increasing a bedroom, or it looks like a bedroom, then, you'd be responsible for paying this back, which that'll be an interesting thing when we get to it, if we ever do.
Haven't had that yet.
No. So there's some more investigation that needs to be done.
Amber?
We did have one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a few years ago. I can't remember the name, but it was a couple of years ago and we did pay it back.
Well, that's nice. That's precedent has been set, so that's a great thing. So anyway, I think I'm going to do a little bit more fleshing this out. I'll go to the building department and we'll just make sure that it's okay. And I've copied Jessica on the stuff that I've sent to Ms. Rohrer, and just so that everybody is on the same page, that she's aware of this. Right. That's where that's at. For Becky Smith, as you recall, there was an omission on her request for payment that covered some work done by Shelter Island Sand and Gravel. It was like $47.38 or something like that, was the amount, as I recall. And she has got all the paperwork straightened out, and it appears everything is in order for that extra payment to be made. But she had well things and all different stuff there.
But no pressurized drain field, correct?
No.
Okay, so she's asking for 18,353.
Well, no.
Can I ask a question? Because the sheet was not complete.
The sheet
So
wasn't
she could do
complete.
it over again? That's what we had asked for, as far as.
Right.
And she also had, I believe, I'm not sure if she had a income thing.
Yes, incentive, yes,
She did.
from Suffolk County.
So anyway, I think she's executed all the paperwork correctly. And now it's just a question of, do we think that we should grant her this? I think probably.
Well, like you said,
We said we would, as long as
did we say
Sure, we did.
18,000
Her
or does she
paperwork was
need the
not-
16,000?
Right. She
Resubmitted this.
had to,
That sounds,
it was paid 13, I believe.
13,615.
Right. Exactly. So. Approved for 16,000, check is issued for, so she's due, the 2385. But she had the, 12 and the 4. So of the 4,000 that she's asked for,
Well, according to this, it says 18,000.
but she was approved. She was approved from the town. We approved 16,000.
Right, that's fine, but.
Right. So she would get paid of that money that she's asked for, the additional money, she would get paid 2385.
I get you. Well,
$2,385.
yes, but why? If she didn't put in I mean, our thing is 12,000 for the regular
But I
system.
think she had to, like,
There's no pressurized drain fields.
There's a well, right?
The
there's a
well got
well.
4, so it's 12 and 4, which is 16,000.
correct.
And then they
So
an
now she's
incentive.
asking for 2,000 more for full.
No, she omitted on her original request for payment a line item that totaled 4,700 something.
Okay,
It was just an omission.
okay,
Because, the payments, the paperwork came in at different times, and there was some confusion, and that this wasn't executed properly.
okay.
There was, the shelter on the sand and gravel was left blank.
So what's the total amount she's asking for?
She's actually asking for 4730.
What total?
Total, that's what she omitted, but she was approved for 16.
Right.
So we paid her $13,615 already.
Right, so the difference is
So the
20.
difference is 2385 that we could grant her.
Okay,
Because she didn't get the entire base grant initially, is that?
Correct.
She was approved for the 12, and then there was the well moving.
What about the economic incentive?
That didn't come through,
that comes through Suffolk
well,
County.
she didn't apply for it with the WQI. She got extra, that's why she got 15, she got 25 between the state and the county.
Right, exactly.
So anyway, the amount that we could, grant her in addition to her original grant is 2385, bringing her to a total of 16,000 that was approved.
Okay,
Okay.
Now I
that makes
get
sense
it. Now I
Now
get
it
it.
makes sense. It
Yes.
sounded like that she already had those. and,
No. She would like, I'm sure she would like to get 47, but,
right.
being that it was 16 that was approved.
Right.
So,
Well, and that's what she's.
right. And I think that it's fine. I think it was an honest mistake that was made when she put in the original request.
Okay.
And that's what we sort of concluded last meeting.
Okay.
So I would ask for a motion to approve payment of this added amount to that grant of 2385.
Based on the understanding that it was just a document under, right? We did
Right.
say, I guess, the last meeting, that motion to approve pending receipt of completed request for payment. And that has, well, I haven't seen it, but you're saying, you two were both saying.
So we don't need to maybe we don't need to make another motion. But, so we have that documentation, so we can pay this 2385.
So I make that motion.
Okay, we can make it again. I'll second that again.
I'll second it.
Okay, we're still all in favor.
All in
Great.
favor.
Right.
I think since it was kind of hanging loose, you probably want to tie it down, which is what we just did.
Yep. Okay.
Project plan.
Greg was really great and got out the refined project plan update, which I thought was pretty good.
Have a copy of it, you received copies in
I
email.
got an email, my printer didn't work.
Appendix F now, we'll just put it on the screen. If people look at the video, they'll know what we're talking about. So my notes on this were pretty much a scramble, and it wasn't, I was back from holiday before I did this, but
In our pack.
the only comment that was made was the cesspit word was, there'd be a preference that it be cesspool,
Yeah.
but, I think they're both good terms.
Yeah, but all
What is
the literature
antiquated?
that we have written and stuff, it's referred to as a cesspool, so.
Right.
Because it
I
sounds like
just-
armpit. That's what it is. Nobody
We
wants
wouldn't
it.
want that, would we?
It's already scatological as it is, so.
That's like, go swimming in the pool.
Right.
If you don't say an L clearly. So I think that this was pretty close to what we spoke. It was, my notes were not swell.
Well, I mean, I think, it was based on, that first run through and everybody else's thoughts. So I think this is fine. I think it's just sort of a guideline, not even a specific GPS roadmap. It's a guideline that, these are the things that we can do, and we've already said in this preamble that we could revisit it at will, if not yearly.
So I think it was dated 4:30, and so.
But I think we need to
change the pit pool.
My gut would be that we're gonna remove Appendix F from this, right? This is standing on its own now, right?
Yeah.
So this will be a document that sort of, has the background, and it's just our project plan, not even Appendix F anymore.
So it's not Appendix F anymore. What was the
It's
rest?
part of the comprehensive.
The Community Preservation Fund has to do its
Okay.
plan, and so this was part of it, so we're bifurcating it so that you've got a standalone.
I do remember.
So it's just the project plans.
Yes.
And so Appendix F gets eliminated, cesspit becomes cesspool. And that was as far as my notes went.
Having not been at the last meeting, are we back on this pump out boat?
It's just there as a thing that a pump out boat would be something that we could consider supporting because it is within the parameters of, in this case, tidal wetland water
We
quality.
don't have one at the moment.
It's on the list from the state legislation,
Oh, it is, okay.
and I think it's on our
It's a hot topic
as well.
on and off with the
So we just-
WMAC.
We're acknowledging something that we don't.
The problem with the pump out boat is getting it is probably not that big a deal. It's key, who's gonna do it and who's gonna,
Are you
pay
gonna
for that.
dump it?
Well, that's not, that costs, yes. But, the operational cost
Yeah.
is what everybody gets fearful of.
Yeah,
Because I think
plus-
at one point,
All of it.
the
It's a really big
state or the
expense.
county would give us one.
Well, plus.
Maybe.
The rub is,
That was at one point, this was in the past.
Betty?
Plus, I wouldn't be in favor of it actually, because Cockles Harbor has a pump out. Island Boatyard has a pump out.
Right.
I mean,
And the
But
water, and the water.
we're not even
no, I
taking
know,
on
but
that
I'm
as a
just.
topic. It's a potential that you could
Right.
get behind. I mean, there's that whole, all those things have been debated ad nauseum. That every harbor has its own pump out facility. Just,
Well, some are accessible and some aren't. I mean, you go to Block Island, you can't get to it. Even if they have it, you can't get there.
and the reality is, after the testing that was done
The water's clean.
last year, even in Deering Harbor, the water was pretty good.
Yeah.
So there was no like red flag that was up, even, the busy weekends. I mean, they're really only busy afternoons. Most of those people depart, like before sundown. So
the other,
anyway, we're not debating that. But it could be a topic that we could consider.
Yeah.
That's what potential considerations.
we need to take a look at the various legislations, because I think the operation of it might not be part of our purview.
That may not be, and
But
that's,
it's not important to fix it now. It's-
right. This is just a,
That's true.
What's a hot topic?
Wow.
Yeah.
No.
It's, Yeah, it's.
Come to the WMAC meeting and just suggest. talk about-
Bring it up next time.
That'll get everybody going.
See if I get the pump out for it.
You know, I don't know, Skylar Needham's now on that, you know, maybe he'll take over from John. And-
Really? Yeah.
Well, John, yeah, he is.
I know John
He-
did, but I didn't know Skylar was.
Skylar's on that,
Oh,
you
yeah?
know, and he will probably, the same thing, you know, they maintain a pump out facility,
Right.
so that's.
So.
Anyway, so I would say, do we need to move to adopt this? Or just submit it?
I guess I have no idea.
I would submit it in conjunction with what was the rest of Appendix F. You know, which gave the background of this legislation and what.
Okay. All right, and Appendix F has to be
And
removed.
but it's no longer Appendix F, it's our project.
You guys got that, right? So, and then, I think that we're all.
Your work is done here,
The
Greg.
opinion of the board is that this will work, right?
Good job, Greg.
You've done it.
Yes.
Okay, so outreach initiatives.
Right.
Once again, Greg has come through and,
Describe.
you know, and submitted something that was, you know, pretty nice.
Most of this, came out of the conversation that, I kind of stepped back from the conversation for a little while and I just, that's one part of my notes that do say a lot of this topic.
Yeah.
So, and of course, which one is the change of ownership, the change of title, that's in progress now at the town.
That's being talked about.
Discuss, yeah.
So is it the new owner that has to
I
put in?
mean, that's
this?
just, I think it's a conjecture, what
We're
you're,
discussing that now.
you know,
I think it seemed to me like you would have a story to tell the owner of this house that just paid X percentage to the CPF fund. And you'll say, remember that money we took from you, 2 weeks ago? Well, we're going to give you this much back in order to do your job on this, and then they need to go through to get the county and state grants, which is an issue in itself with the county anyway.
Hopefully that'll all get settled in November when that whole law goes on the ballot.
So you want me to read this? I'll read this. It kind of puts it in the record so that we can touch each one as we.
we can,
go.
yeah. I mean, there's additional outreach kind of things that, that can be done, but yeah, I mean,
I
this
had a
is,
couple ideas for
Yeah.
that. Actually, I thought of, and I see Greg put down, so I'll save that, but I have an idea for B.
Okay, so, the title of the thing is how can we increase IA installations on Shelter Island? The WQI believes a major part of the resident hesitation is that the county is only funding failures and emergency failures. This removes 33% of potential grant funding and delays replacement of conventional septic systems. Are there other factors, TBD? I don't, what else? That's a hole in my knowledge that it would be nice to get that filled in and understand it may drive other actions that we would want to take, but.
right, I mean, I come back always to, people generally are not, the county seems to be still getting money out. I mean, where it's needed. I mean, I'm not sure that particular thing is what's keeping people from going ahead with an IA. I mean, I think, maybe it's not a help in it, but even when everything was like in place, but some of these other things that you touch on, I mean, I think we should talk about the financing part of it, but some of the other things, like, getting someone to make a video, something that they could just go through the steps, and And that's, people are
I
so,
was thinking along your lines, like after our meeting, I was sitting around thinking, okay, so what is it about IAs that, people are just not clamoring at the door to get them? And I think just because I work in medical, so in medical, we have this standing joke about people don't want to talk about anything below the waist. They don't want to get colonoscopies, they don't want to go to the OBGYN. No, I mean, this is a factor. People don't want to talk about the toilet. So I think some of this is just that it's septic, unfortunately. It's just septic. People are not thinking about that. And the other thing is that, when people do start to think about it, the first thing that comes to mind is, oh gosh, I got to dig up my whole yard. And again, I'm just laying out, like, these are the obstacles that the average person, and I think that
And it's expensive.
it's expensive, but also we're so close to it that we're in this data all the time and we're thinking about it. But I think the average Islander is just not even thinking that it's there. And then when it does cross their mind, thinking, oh, septic, well, I don't want to go into that. And then digging up stuff, I don't want to bother with that. And so I was thinking in the medical profession, when there was this drive, sorry to be again back to the medical stuff, but when there was this drive to get people to go get colonoscopies, you do remember that they had a couple of famous actors.
Yeah.
They made videos. I forget the one gentleman, but it was a very popular actor that they showed him and his wife, saying, oh, you can do it in the convenience of your home now. You can test, put it in a little box, send it out. So I think the idea I was thinking is that if we can somehow take away the mystery of, like, there's this great thing going on, it's cleaning our water, but you don't think about it being there. And when you do think about it, you get anxiety. So let's, like, somehow present to the public. And this is the idea I had. What if we interviewed, I see Greg's gonna write this down. What if we interviewed some of the people that were among the first to get the IA? And first person that comes to mind is Katie Snook Rossi, who we approved for the oyster projects, right? Some of these, and also Susan Sincata, I believe, might have been even the first one.
Yeah.
They're very, open, bubbly, nice people. And I think that we could get them to do some kind of interview. I think if people saw real residents who got it, who can just, and we can maybe do like a interview where we sit down, like, I don't know, you, me, Jim, whoever, Greg, does like a very impromptu interview with them and ask them, we have a set of questions that we ask them, make it very casual and friendly. 30-second minute clips, and we do a little blast of them talking about their positive experience with IA.
Weisenberg report.
The Weisenberg report, but I think that, I think we have to reach the public in a little bit more creative way, and I think personal interviews, as long as the people give permission and are into it, I think that would really.
Well, also an explanation of the system. I mean, it's sort of mysterious because it's all underground. You don't
Mysterious,
know,
yeah, and
people don't even know their system is failing till it backs up into the basement, right? I mean,
Right, but
or it
also,
collapses.
but also there's still a lot of myths floating around, so I think.
There's a lot of
So I-
old souls on Shelter Island who are in the dirt business who are not
In favor.
So
overly.
if we could.
They're not
get-
believers.
Business, and they're not the
Like,
dirt business.
There's this undercurrent of it's a bunch of hogwash,
But if you could get
That's
some
what-
of these
that's what-
myths busted by talking to the actual people, and they can talk about, no, actually, that's not happening in my system, or
That
no,
sounds-
this is,
that sounds-
and I can see, and here's how I know the difference, and I don't know. Someone with a pressurized shallow drainage field can talk about what it actually looks like and how it makes my grass greener, and, I don't know, something real, I think is what we need. Like doing the colonoscopy at home, you just, I don't know, that was my idea, so.
That sounds like a great
That's
lead.
not in lieu of a real colonoscopy, mind you.
No, so, anyway.
In truth, the one thing is that we really, we don't have a lot of information as,
Yeah.
what is holding people back? Is it just the money? Is it just the digging up the yard? Are there other aspects that, I forget who it was. It might have been at a WAC meeting and somebody was saying that, oh yeah, then there's the expense to run it, once it's in the ground.
Well, you gotta maintain it.
Yeah, the whole maintenance and all that.
Technically, you need to maintain the system you have.
But nobody does.
Right.
Bizarre.
This system, if you don't maintain it, is gonna work just like a regular system. It would just bypass, it would flow through and it wouldn't do anything if you don't maintain it. And essentially what the current systems do, nothing, except to make the water go away. So, I mean, maintenance is part of cleaning the water up. You know, and, you know, people, it's not a palatable thing. I mean, people
also
don't, I mean.
Don't see the clean water. They don't realize what.
I mean, you know, and also it's, you know, it's, everybody has to do a little bit, and a little bit, and a little bit. I mean, they don't understand, you know, oh, I put one in, but the water's not any different here, you know? You know, it's gotta get traction, and people don't understand
Yeah.
that. It's not gonna, one system or two systems are not gonna fix things. It's gonna help. Everything helps, and it took a long time. I've said this before, to get to where the water is now, and the nitrogen and whatever else we're going in there. And it's gonna take a good amount of time to turn it around, you know? I mean, you know, John Cronin and other people have said how many systems it would be to start turning the tide in the center. But you know, you got those results from those people who did get their water tested, you know, and you know, there's a lot of people that say, well, there's no real smoking gun here, you know, but there is an undercurrent, you know, and maybe you know, those standards need to change eventually, you know.
No, I mean, no, you're right. I mean, also is the expense, so, but, I mean, they're working on that now, but that's actually on Greg's sheet too.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, this ties in with what, you know, sort of
Yeah.
Greg's video thing.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
I was thinking like an
we got the
interview.
video, we had a video that was made 5 years ago. And it was lying, it was still lying in our website, although obviously really not correct anymore. I mean, that was basically, I had a PowerPoint presentation, and I just talked over it. And, you know, that was potential, you know, that needs to be updated, and
People don't even go to the
with
website.
a much
let's
more
get it.
interesting person reading it, you know,
Yeah, I was
presenting
gonna
it.
say, like, just as example, the Dare and Tick Committee, we often do social media campaigns, and we produce the material and we give it to Christina, and it's put up on the website. And we do like a series of, like, every week we do blasts on a certain content. So there's no reason why I mean, Dare and Tick does it, why can't WQI make some video content and we put it out? Or, you know, whatever, stills or anything you want.
Do you put it out on the town?
People are not good, yeah, we actually put it on the social media, yeah, go look at the town website, you'll see some stuff from, well, there's lots of things
Do
on
you have
there.
to look under deer and tick, or?
No, it's on the regular town Instagram or the town.
There's the problem.
Facebook. Oh, you're not on Instagram, right? Okay.
No wonder it's not on my list.
I depend on other parties in my household.
Wait, that's the, wait, is that what he was talking about, the old crowd, the dirt? Is that the crowd?
That's the crowd.
For a short period of time anyway, it's going to be.
It will continue to be.
You know, I mean,
So, no, but I think.
I actually have an
like a
Instagram
PowerPoint's gonna
account, and
put
I
people
do
to
see it
sleep.
all.
And like you said, they're not even gonna go to the website.
Right.
They're not even, so you gotta put it where the people are, so, you know, that's what I think.
Yeah, you know, the B section, clarify the process, reduce confusion. The video can.
I mean, you could-
Well,
Good.
also, the other, besides clarifying the process, clarifying the result, the need, the result. People say, well,
What
Yeah.
James just said,
Yeah.
like, it's gonna take all of us a little bit at a time, systems, putting them together.
You know, I think what, you know, would be a good start going with what you're saying is to go to the people doing the testing,
right,
you know, because they're supposed to be monitoring all these systems that are in the ground. You know, even, you know, you know, there's quite a few more than what we've been involved in that are in the ground. So it'd be interesting to see what the nitrogen readings are coming out now, you know, on an average. So maybe I'll pick someone's brain.
That's great. You know, you're absolutely right, you know.
You know, let's
You
get
don't
some
need to know-
quantitative data about,
Who does that?
well,
Petter does his
Petter Larson.
installations.
Oh, really?
I mean, or it doesn't have to be just him. I mean, it's generally the installer does the monitoring,
Oh,
you know,
I
which
see.
is
So
sort
it is
of a
maintenance-
conflict
part
of
the
interest.
maintenance thing?
But,
Is it part of the maintenance?
yes,
Contract?
yeah,
Well, they have to make
and
sure
and they
it's running,
submit
right?
results to the health department.
Ah, okay, I didn't know that.
So it might be good to quantify that and, have that as a bullet point. Well, of the 300 systems, this is the average nitrogen content as opposed to a standard system, which is this content, and you look what you're accomplishing, as an
Assuming people
individual.
even understand what the nitrogen count means.
Well, I mean, they know nitrogen's bad for the most part. I think most people are beginning to get that message.
I just wonder if this sort of monitoring data, I mean, it's there already maybe in Suffolk County and perhaps
Right,
not
I mean-
ours in the ground here, but maybe.
I mean,
Just to get
just getting that
similar
data,
to
figuring out how to get
getting
that
it from
data
there.
is really something that we ought to do. I'll reach out and see what, I know that. Well,
You might think that
Lori was around, she had some sort of hotline to the health department.
Meg has a hotline.
I think she does as well, so,
Yeah, but,
I would imagine that FujiClean or whoever the other systems are would have some kind of helpful.
well, you would think that they, as the manufacturer of the system, would want to
Video.
maybe, in the local area where they're trying to push them, maybe do some advertising.
No,
and put out results.
I've been to a couple like events where they had a kiosk, they had a whole booth set up there.
And they must have video.
Yeah, they have all kinds of stuff, data and pamphlets and
Yeah.
things running and.
Well, I mean,
I remember that. I think
Probably
it was
the issue
East
is,
Hampton or something.
as long as they had the before, if you don't have the before, because they're taking not well water, they're taking the effluent coming out of this, out of
the system.
IA system. So if they say, okay, this house was at 65 milligrams per liter, and the Fuji system is now 10.2, that's
I
really.
mean, that's what we need, there's not gonna be an impact on the well yet, most likely.
Depends on where the well is compared to the septic.
Just the nitrogen numbers.
Because there
Well,
were.
I mean, now the well, if nothing else, they're getting some separation between the septics and the wells when they put one of these things in, because
Now,
so I mean, slowly but surely, people should be getting healthier just because you're gonna have a bigger separation, because of the process.
It is amazing. Again, I got copied on some of the county numbers, all right? And they had stripped out, for the private wells, they had stripped out, they just had the street, so you don't have the number. But for the commercial and the non-commercial, and that's the two categories, they have three categories. Up the street here, there was a well that was over 10, and the one next to it was 1. Two
Right,
buildings, basically side by side. So,
It's almost like a tornado.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, what the- you know,
Yeah, but
that-
I remember that in some of the discussions, even with the town engineer, saying,
Right.
because depending on flow and
The
absorption.
flow, I mean, that data that was,
Right next to
that
each other.
modeling that was done, in conjunction with the municipal system.
Yeah,
Um,
so actually, a bunch of people up the road could be affecting you. It could be, the
Right.
effect could be coming further down, actually.
Well,
in some
yeah,
cases.
in all likelihood, it might be, I mean,
Yeah.
which is why it's, it's a slow process.
Yeah.
I mean, and, the storm that we kind of feel when we're talking about mandating on property transfer, like there were certain parties that I know pretty well were railing and moaning about that, but I mean,
We're
they're
talking about on social media.
you can, there's a difference between mandating an IA system and mandating a septic system testing. As I've said before, in Massachusetts, maybe in Connecticut, but in Massachusetts, think they have something, I think it's called 52A. When you sell your house, you have to hire an engineer to come to your house, check your septic system and give it either a seal of approval or a plan of correction. And you've got to do the plan of correction before you can transfer the house.
So that would be.
Yeah, but I mean, the problem with that is it's not gonna do anything, it's just gonna make sure your septic system works.
But at
And there's
least if we
not
find-
bubbling
if we
anything out
find
of your
a
basement.
Failing system,
If it's a failing system, if these are deemed to be failing systems as they transfer, then yeah, you could mandate those people would have to put in a new system and they would have to put in an IA system.
It's not
Yeah.
failing if the system is pumping 70 milligrams per liter, it's not failing.
right, well.
No, I mean,
It's
that's,
just- it's doing what it was
all of them,
designed to
but
do.
all of them, even the ones that are failing are gonna pump the same amount of,
Yes, and that's my point.
but the point is that if you encounter upon examination by a licensed professional that your system is substandard, you don't have maybe no septic tank, or you have a collapsing pool or whatever that nobody even knew about. That's what you're saying, I think, right?
Yes.
Those systems would be caught in that net and then, that could be more palatable than mandating it for every transfer. But, how about you want to get more on the ground, I mean, it's a bitter pill one way or the other somehow.
How much is that inspection gonna cost you as well? And engineers will say, that's $2,000.
It's usually about $2,000.
Yeah. So they'll pump it out.
You gotta pump it out, you gotta look at it, you gotta uncover it.
You gotta
You know,
find it.
we gotta find it, I mean, that's true.
And
You
what does the owner get with that is that, they don't.
And then the transfer can go
They're still-
forth.
They're behind.
That's the leverage you have,
I don't actually think we had to, the ones that I was involved in, we didn't have to pump it. I don't know what the inspection involved, but it's just, I don't know what the mandates are.
You weren't
but-
sure.
Well, I mean, they have to look and see what,
It was a number of years ago.
hardware is.
Yeah.
I mean, and in some cases, certainly in houses that were built prior to 1980, that could be the case.
The other big thing, yes, we want more of the individual homeowners to install, but the commercial properties.
Yeah, no, I mean, those are point sources that should.
Bridge Street is Bridge Street. It's, nobody has any acreage. Every septic ounce goes right into the bay, essentially.
And the Bridge Street is a topic that has, been, talked about ad nauseum for years. There was a thought of maybe getting them together, the Heights, I'm without some upgrade to their plant, they're probably not able to take on the extra waste. I don't know. There's different information that flows from there, but, that system, is run pretty tight to what they already do. I think they're doing a good job with what they're doing, but I don't know how much more they can do. Now they're fixing all the Chase Avenue's closed because they're fixing these old waste lines that are broken at the bottom, so once they start getting all the effluent that they're supposed to get into that plant, maybe, that's gonna change things. That's what I was thinking, I've been pretty close to that whole thing over the years. It's,
Yikes. It's a yikes.
the yikes, and that topic of trying to fix what's going into the bay, that from that is another hot button thing. But Bridge Street, there's that piece of property that's up the road that they're, the
For sale
CPF,
sign on it.
if the CPF bought it, and then a system was put there you know.
I don't know that CPF can buy it for that purpose, but we could buy it for that purpose theoretically.
What piece of property are you talking about?
There's like up above Pecosi's, there's like a
Yeah,
little
there's a
lot up there, you know, that
piece,
maybe you could. This is, you know, this has been talked about a little bit here and there, but maybe a centralized IA system that could handle Bridge Street, you know, they would have to be cooperative with one another. And maybe,
Okay, I'm gonna flush now. All right.
no, I mean, just to play nice together is what.
Yeah, I don't, they'd also have to be willing to, or open to putting in any, because they're usually not so hot on putting stuff on CPF properties, like.
Well, that's something,
Well, I mean, that's why.
we could buy, but WQI could buy it, or the town could buy it.
I don't think.
But then again, then you're gonna probably, you know, in a mini version, you know, you might get opposition to it.
Absolutely.
But, you know,
But
why would you, you know, because it really only, the trickle down is back down to the people who are doing it.
But this could also, I think we're getting on a tangent on this, but.
We are a little bit.
But it does kind of relate to A5, because in terms of Bridge Street, maybe, like Greg had written here, you know, contract installers to possibly to reduce cost by arranging a few neighbors or
Right.
businesses
You know,
in one area and do the installation.
I mean, it would be.
And whether that helps it, whether that reduces costs or not.
The problem with that is that, as we've seen, all of these installations have so many unique qualities for
Yes.
each one.
Yeah.
You know, that
True.
it's sort of hard to get you know, a volume thing, you know, unless the hardware was, you know, discounted because you're buying 10 of them.
Or put in a centralized system.
Well, I mean.
Hot topic.
You know, I'm not, we shouldn't say centralized for Bridge Street, you know, a common system
I know.
for them. I mean, because, you know, the reality is all of them have the same issue, and it's hurting everybody because it goes into the bay. Like, you know, you said, in the creek, you know, and, well, you know, it would benefit everybody if they fix the issue, or we helped fix the issue, or the town helped fix the issue. You know, so those are things that, you know, and then speaking about the town itself, set an example.
You mean the
What do you
town
mean?
buildings?
I mean, obviously, you know, the school went on its own, you know, the other thing is sort of a dead duck. I think, you know, okay, now we're left with what can we do?
So I guess that's true, the town's inaction to where they are right now, where it's.
I mean, that would be great advertising, you know, we're undertaking the municipal buildings, you know, to try and clean the center water up, you know, yeah, it didn't work out exactly the way we hoped at one point, but this is another alternative that's, you know, almost as good, and, you know, possibly can be, you know, as technology improves, perhaps, you know, more stuff can be removed from the water.
Yeah. Is it dead?
We're using the property that we were discussing.
For housing.
So that project is completely dead. So.
Oh, is that the bridge seat? Yeah, no, I'm
You should
talking
put
about
houses on it.
the municipal building.
What we need to do is a facilities master plan, but first we need to do a needs assessment to just figure out like what we need to do with this whole complex in order to make it more workable. We have like cocoa sitting in front of the fireplace, you know, not enough space.
she was warming herself there.
You know, like we need to figure out how to better use these buildings and what we need to do with them. It's not an easy fix. So, but if we do something with septic now, but then we later do something different, it's like, did we just throw money out the window? So we should start with what does the future look like? So we can plan accordingly.
Is that happening this year, or is on the agenda for?
Starting to look at the needs assessment this year.
So the needs assessments, everything, including septic, but buildings
Yeah,
itself.
it would be, you know, looking.
Office
where the
space.
seniors are, you know, where the assessor, so, you know, it's like looking and seeing how the town functions and operates.
So it's kind of like a comp plan for them, but it's a
Yeah,
master
it would be,
plan.
it's a facilities master plan, is kind of the terminology.
For the town,
that's used.
for the town.
Town project plan.
For town,
Yeah, right, project plan.
yeah. Just, you know,
Anyway, I mean,
architects.
these things,
Sewer.
But in terms of us, these are,
you know, I mean, and outreach, you know, again, networking with the other committees, especially the WAC. I mean, they're on this, we could talk about it now a little bit. You know, Peter Grand has sort of given me a heads up that you're thinking of doing some more water testing in other areas.
Did you just jump to the next time?
Well, only because, you know, it's sort of like part and parcel of outreach.
okay,
You know, that networking with other committees, especially the WAC, is a way of, you know, outreach in and of itself. I mean, funding their outreach
so
is.
WAC, we're working with WQI to maybe test other areas, like.
Right, well, it seems like it's possibly coming to us, so I just wanted to give you a heads up that there will maybe be another request to do more testing.
Like-
Of the-
like we
of
just
the
did.
wells,
Of wells.
individual house wells?
Yes.
Or
That's what they want to do.
They want the, what is it
near
called?
shore?
Near
Near
shore
shore,
overlay, yeah.
You know, so that's all chlorides and all
Well,
that,
Silver
everything.
Beach once,
Yeah, that's.
Montclair.
Well,
Wants the
is it-
town to pay for that, yes. Or the WAC to pay for it.
No, but I think it's
W-
more than just,
WQI.
I think it's more than just Silver Beach.
It might be
Isn't it?
Montclair, might,
They could
you
be
know,
like
I
that.
mean, but
I mean-
the point of it is, that kind of thing, again, we have another opportunity to reach out to those people, you know, who show an interest in water. You know, I mean, we weren't super successful in the center with our outreach, and maybe we didn't do it correctly.
Yeah,
I mean, yes, I agree.
So where-
It wasn't, I think what we tested wasn't enough, in my opinion.
No, I mean, I'm talking about our outreach to those individuals who seemingly had a concern about water. We reached out via, you know, that little thing that was sent to them that.
Card?
Yeah, but that was just
we
a
would.
card.
yeah.
Which, if it
Right,
got.
but I mean, you know, like,
failed,
okay.
got Lost.
You know, it was, you know, to anonymous people,
Right, but
you
you
know.
could give it out to, I mean, like, I can only speak for SBA because I'm on that board, Silver Beach Association. So we have email distribution lists. So if, let's just say hypothetically, WQI wants to do something like that, an outreach thing, you could reach out to the board, that board of that association and say, hey, would you be willing to distribute this? Another example is we just came up with a whole new brochure, and it's got a quality of life stuff. It's a trifold brochure that we're using, and we're gonna be doing a door-to-door campaign to get new members to come in, door-to-door, face-to-face. So that is like another example where, you know, you got your little pamphlet about water quality and IAs, and as you're talking to someone about joining whatever association it is, then you hand them.
If you join, though, you have to put an IA system in.
No, but you know what I mean, something like that. So it's, I think, more engaging face-to-face might work. But you got, I started by saying that, you know, you could get a hold of the associations, talk to those.
No, I think that's a great outreach
You know,
thing, yes.
yeah.
You know, to,
But there's a labor factor. Somebody has to do that labor to reach out to all of these.
No, you could start with just the email, I mean, I'm sure the other associations have to be like us, they have email distribution
Yeah,
lists,
yeah.
and they, you know, it just takes a click of a thing, and you make something up nice, you send it out.
There's actually a bigger issue is that Mermaid, the guy at Mermaid, I don't know if that was at the town board.
Greg?
Greg.
Greg, it was at the
Greg.
WA,
Yeah, he said, well, I'm not doing it again.
WAC.
He said it was a pain in the butt. He made no question. I'm not doing that now. So,
Well, I mean, that may
The
be.
tester was a good.
I mean, what he had a problem with getting into houses and, you know, I mean, just, it was sort of a pain in the neck, like
it
you
was
said.
a major pain in the
But
neck.
he's not the only vendor, there's other.
No, I think WAC is trying to get Suffolk County to do it. You know how you pay the $100 fee fee to get your water tested.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what they're
Oh, right,
talking
right.
about,
We-
and so
that's-
what
yeah.
needs to be done is they've gotta get Suffolk County to say, okay, we're willing to do this is how many wells we're willing to test, and this is how much it's gonna cost WQI, but
Our
until,
time estimate is 10 years.
well, that's the whole problem, that was the discussion we had, I was at the WAC meeting, so that's how I know this, that was part of the problem, that, I forget the guy who was talking, but he said, now's not the time, maybe in the fall or something.
Plus that, all of the wells, at the well measurements, we're above the 90% percentile. So we got plenty of water down there.
It's too much.
And what, if you did that test today,
It would all be cleaner.
it would all be cleaner. Because that head pressure is pushing out. So,
It's probably not the best time.
yeah, now is not the.
We
best
want to wait till the water dirties up again. I mean, and maybe I don't know.
I mean, the thing, so Silver Beach Association, we are really, this is the thing that we're really hyper-focused on. And in fact, we actually changed our mission statement to display that we're more of like stewards of the environment. So everything is about, fertilizer and protecting the water, saving the trees, preserving land. So I guess it depends on which association and how, like, what their focus is, but maybe you can, you can get in there somehow with some other campaign again, like we did.
Well, I mean, we can certainly outreach
Yeah.
to the associations
Yeah.
and we could make up some
Yeah.
thing,
If you,
that
if you,
says,
if
you know,
you
that
want
we-
a copy, would you like to see a copy of the new Silver Beach Association, like, thing that we made? Just to give you an idea of what you could do, like, I mean, the content's gonna be different, but you
I
can.
mean, but we could, we need to think of a catchy outreach, emailable thing
Mhm.
that we could distribute to the associations,
Sure.
asking them, to distribute it to their memberships.
Yeah.
And just outlining the points and maybe doing some homework and getting quantification of how much cleaner the effluent is on these systems that have been installed. Get a couple of, testimonies, like you
Yeah,
were
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
At some point in
Yeah.
time, I remember Cronin had a intern who was helping him count
Right.
septic systems or something.
Yeah, no, that's how they got that center triangle thing.
So, I mean, there must be kids in college who are doing, not burning down the university, but perhaps communication folks who would volunteer to help us do this or get paid, as the case may be, but.
We would pay
The
'em.
intern was paid. I mean,
Okay.
But what are we asking, I think
Create
anybody who is.
Communication plan to go figure out all this information and put together a
No, I think that's our job.
I think we
That's
could,
what
I mean, we
can
need to
come
just come up with a catchy thing, and a couple of blurbs from people who've
Yeah,
done it, and some quantification of why it's good. And
we
what
did
we
pay
can do to
somebody-
help them do it.
we did pay somebody to put it together nicely and I
Right.
think what it was.
It was very- it was minimal, but- I mean, that's certainly, we're trying to belabor each point on this outreach thing, but, it's not a bad idea, to try to vet this stuff. Right.
So the general heading is outreach, and, we've just here came up with a couple of two or three.
And we were specific as outreach to try and, get people to put the IA systems in. I mean, there's other outreach things that we could consider, but maybe we do one
Let's do that.
thing at a time.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've pushed the WAC thing. Fine.
The WAC thing,
That-
that's all good stuff, but maybe, jumping, to each individual organization is the way to go.
I was very dissatisfied, as it turned out, at the way that, where we didn't have ownership of the numbers, that, the numbers got given to us and you don't know what the relationship between the different properties were.
Right.
And
Is
nobody,
there a,
nobody
is there a,
that
I
was,
mean, the only thing we knew were certain sections.
well, and those sections are, you know, that's,
Right, I mean,
you know, that's,
you know, the data was not super usable, other than, you know, it showed that there was the fact that things could be so close, and.
but did anybody respond to it?
No,
No,
what do you mean?
nobody responded to our overture,
except.
except for Kraus.
And he got it.
And he got one.
He got the IA.
Right.
And we were, you know, we were like 1% successful or whatever.
Didn't we do 85? So, yeah, like.
Well, I mean, from that thought, we got one person.
But there are a lot of houses that had some significant issues. Now, maybe they're gonna go to Mermaid and buy a water filtration system and put it on their tap.
I
Right.
think,
There's gonna be a meeting, on Sunday, is, the
At the
WAC
library.
is gonna
Library?
be, yeah, in the library. I think it
There's
starts
the
at
housing
2,
thing.
but it may start at 5. But it must, and they're gonna go through and describe, Andrew Chapman, I think, and Joe Fenora, are gonna explain to people, here's, you got your paper, let us expand any questions you had on what you're seeing.
So this is specifically for people who got their water tested already?
Yes, this is for the center triangle test that they did, that was done.
So at 5 o'clock, so just after the party at Goat Hill?
I'm not sure the relationship between that right now. I got a feeling that, I think it starts at 5:30 at the library.
Oh,
I have 5 here, but that
Okay,
doesn't.
maybe 5, okay.
When is
And Goat Hill starts at 2.
right, so that's what I mean.
So everybody's in a great mood. Who cares about my water?
Oh, well,
You know,
more interested in the beer.
Amber, the housing forum is before?
It's 1 to 3.
Okay, so I was gonna, they wouldn't
5 to
put them
7.
together.
Yeah.
The one thing, I think that it would be helpful, there's been a lot of conversation among some people about why don't you not just give grants, but give 0% loans out, and that was.
Well, I mean, that, again, it comes back to what I was thinking, if they were not coming when they were getting money and not a loan, is a loan going to, you know, maybe a loan possibility if people are somehow, you know, forced to get an IA system, you know, that if whatever expenses that the grant doesn't cover could be rolled into a loan.
Or, you know, if it's a
The
loan.
ability to do the loan would be important.
If it's a loan, it's not a grant, which means if you say, okay, and if you're worried about your landscaping, you can take this 0% loan and do your landscaping, bang, you know, that there's ways to spin this, I guess. But the first thing to do would be, I think, to figure out whether or not it's workable in the town tax.
You know, just how to do the mechanics of it.
Would we ask you guys in a?
Yes, because I'm,
Okay,
the office over there would have to figure out the logistics of it.
yeah.
Mhm.
So I think that's something I think that I'd like to,
I think we should have that
I'd like to
anyway.
make that request to the town board next week.
That's a
And
good
say,
idea.
You know, we'd like to just investigate what could, you know, is it feasible in the systems that we have? If they come back and say, yeah, it's about 80,000 hours a year, okay, well, but, you know, but we'll look anyway. So if that's,
You know, I think having that available, you know, for things, you know, my thought was that we were trying to figure out how to cover, if it ever did come to be that, you know, people, as a result of some action, whether it be selling their property or whatever, that they would be then encouraged to put an IA system in, that somehow some grant possibility would be, you know, open to them.
it may, you know, that, the complexity would be is okay, if you're gonna take this loan money, there's a lien on your property then of.
Well, that's if it's a loan, but you're saying a
I'm
grant.
saying that I thought we were going to try and soften the blow of making people do it by making grants more available, even if the system is under that new regulation, whatever that might be, mandated. As opposed to just adding a bedroom on and having it mandated, which we don't cover.
Since the county, number one on the A was, since the county is a big holdup on this deal.
Yeah, but hopefully that'll get fixed if,
Yeah, hopefully.
In November.
November it'll get fixed.
Whenever they implement it, well, then they gotta collect the money first.
I mean, we could, again, it's gonna eat into our finances, but we could say, hey, you know what? It's because in lieu of the county paying what the county's paying, is that if you're ready to go now, we'll pay in addition to our.
I wonder how many of these people even know that the county's not paying.
They don't know.
Not a
I
lot.
don't know. I mean,
And also-
they're not even, they haven't gone that far to investigate what,
And also,
If they,
since
you know,
we
to that-
increased our
the IA
funding,
road.
since we increased our funding, you haven't
Nothing has
seen
changed.
Well, I mean,
Rolling in.
we certainly put in, I don't know what Meg tells people when she's, people call up and say, don't count on any money until the county, comes through with cash and approves the project and does the things that they're requiring. I would certainly expect that Meg would let her clients know that. And, okay, we'll do it.
I mean, it's to
Oh, you're
her
up the
detriment
street.
if, they go into it thinking that they're gonna get a $10,000 payment that they won't get.
Yeah,
Probably.
and it blocks you from getting, you don't get the state then, that.
Say it again?
No, you do.
You can't get
You
the
can't get the
state.
state.
No, you can
Yeah.
get the state anyway.
What it does is,
Yeah.
it's not, they won't pay retroactively, even if they did get money.
Yeah,
That's the thing
Right,
with the
that's
county.
right.
yeah.
That's
Hmm.
So, I mean, it's not, I don't think that in itself is one of the giant holdups why people are not doing it at this moment.
Well, it'd be,
But by the time let's assume that the thing gets passed in November. By the time we put together a program, reach out to the various community associations, et cetera, try to build up some more.
And maybe by then,
by then
it'll be
they want
voted
from the
in.
County, and then we could decide, well, if the county's not gonna do it, we'll pay the difference.
May already. Crazy. It's May,
May already.
I mean,
Yeah.
November's not that far away.
It's not that far away.
Time goes in my world.
and we have the title change section. How do we feel about the title change? Do we think that is an appropriate,
I personally don't. I'm not in agreement with it.
louder, I'm sorry.
I don't agree with, look, to buy a house on Shelter Island right now, we're already eliminating, a lot of people, right? People can't afford that work in the school, the volunteer fire department, all of that stuff. Now you're gonna add on the added expense
$40,000.
of $40,000. Not only that, I think there can be some hanky-panky with, transfer deeds and stuff like that, especially between families and things like
Well,
that.
that was gonna be excluded if it was like, between families.
And LLCs.
That was,
I don't know if is the LLCs covered in that? Is that-
They're
or
going to be included.
They will be included, and we'll figure out how to, when the LLC changes ownership, I guess. That seems to be.
Yeah, that's
like-
always the hard part with LLCs, like when it goes from a person to an LLC, then that's recognized as a transfer. But then I don't know how frequently real estate changes hands within the LLC, like the LLC shares get sold, and so it's not a real estate transfer, it's a.
Right.
The thing is, there's a.
But that's a limited tool.
Yeah.
Oh, there's more and more out.
Yeah, there's a lot, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And it's not 40,000 more. You can still get, you got 2 years, you can get the thing designed and you can get the county grant, you can get the town grant, and you can get the state grant. So, you know, right, you know, there, it's not, you didn't mention when you said that's a problem in terms of people getting $40,000 extra. No, there's a couple of $10,000, $15,000.
I think that what she's talking about, and if I'm not mistaken, what you're saying is it, in general, in theory, it's terrific. It's just that there's big development and, you know, LLCs and house flippers and tear downs and rebuild. Those things are automatically going to trigger IAs anyway. It's the average Shelter Islander who's, you know, buying their house from their grandma
Right.
at a reduced rate, and now that, you know,
Well,
those
that
people,
was,
as
that was
long
talked
as-
about as maybe being
Right.
exempt.
That's exempt.
Right, well, it's in talk, it's being talked about, doesn't mean it's set in
I
cement.
mean,
yet, but
this,
yeah.
this is a pretty
But-
tricky
Yeah.
and slippery slope, the whole thing, you know, I mean,
Yeah, but,
and how to craft it so that it's equitable and works to accomplish what
but
we
if you have
want.
these things in place, like the loans and, you know, grants, and maybe it's still doable, you know.
Oh,
I think that there has to be support if you're gonna ask people to do this, you know, when they sell their house, or whoever's responsible, you know, then there has to be some financial support to
Right.
back it up.
I'm fine with it, so as long as as long as we're addressing all of the types of islanders that still live on Shelter Island. You know, it's not just one sector. There's a lot of variation in income still here, and until that changes, you got to consider everybody, every kind of seller and buyer. Like, you know, I
Well,
think, yeah,
and then
yeah.
you exclude the ones that you want to exclude.
Yeah.
You know, and nothing happens until the title changes. And that's why, you know, I think the buyer, it's more appropriate that the buyer is the one that's holding the ticket. They've got to make it happen, because you can't say, okay, the seller, well, you don't own the damn thing anymore, you know, you're.
Yeah.
Right, now,
That's
you know, last time I saw a
talked about
dog
whether
was-
it's buyer, seller, you're still thinking,
Yeah,
you gotta, like, no, which party it is, are you still thinking?
it's still being drafted, so
Yeah, because
hopefully by Tuesday.
I mean, it makes more sense to make it the buyer, you know, I mean.
they own the property.
Well, they
title
will own the
Well, they're
property,
getting-
but maybe the person who's selling it is selling it because they can't afford it. You know, so, you know, or, you know, that's a possibility, but I mean, it's, you know, if the deal doesn't go through, nothing happens.
Right, but
You
the
know, if the
buyer's
deal goes
also,
through, then the buyer's responsible within the 2 years to put it in.
but the buyer's also gonna be considering
But he
that
could
in
not-
the
he could- they
price,
could-
that they're gonna say, you
Right.
have to take that off the price, because,
They might,
yeah.
you know, they might.
You know, in price negotiation is the rub of before the house is sold, before the ink is on a contract. You know,
Which is important to
Hey, I don't want that.
somehow-
Now, that's money that's coming out of my pocket. And so, well, yes, you got 2 years, and you're
They're eligible.
gonna be eligible for these grants.
Who enforces that?
Oh, that's a good question
It
too.
would have to be with the building, you know, code enforcement.
Yeah, right.
They have to go back and check
You know,
it,
they have a list of people who have to have the 2-year list.
so that's more man on the ground, like, right.
Well, they,
And also, right now, we don't give grants for mandated systems,
Right.
town grants.
right, so I
We
made
want to amend
a
that,
distinction between that.
because I think that there's some board members who don't like if it's mandated, no grant money,
Yeah,
but.
Yeah, but it's a different kind of mandate,
Yeah.
is my point, you know, I mean, if it's if it's mandated and the guy has these plans to knock the house down and build, you know, 5 more bedrooms,
And
well, then, you know.
Right, but you
he-
do realize that would have happened anyway.
Right,
If you don't
so,
have,
so he
the-
doesn't
if you don't have the
get,
title
he
change
doesn't
law,
get,
he's gonna
you
get
know,
triggered
if
anyway.
it's just between 2 people and the house is done, it's not gonna get any, you know, within, let's say, the 3 years, it's not gonna have any work done on it,
Mhm.
you know, other than painting or a roof or something, then they're eligible.
Yeah.
And, you know, working out the penalty phase of that, if somebody, you know, 3 years out says, nah, and I'm not doing it, okay, now there's a penalty phase, fine. We're gonna, I guess you haven't worked that through yet.
I mean, there's a lot of the details, with everything details, but yeah, it's,
And, you know, the whole mandated thing, I mean, you know, if a buyer, you tell the buyer, you got this, and this, and, you know what, we're gonna give you paid money into the CPF fund, and we're gonna give it back to help you pay for this system. All right, so there's another chunk of cash, so.
Right,
But-
that's how it was coming back to you technically.
Hmm?
It's coming back to you.
I mean, you're paying, but you're getting a credit.
It's coming back to you in spades, because if
True.
you sell a house for $3 million, the, what comes to WQI is $2,500.
It's not that much, huh?
No, yeah.
Jump.
Well, you know, we could steal some extra, of the CPF fund. Under
It's not in the law.
a clear blue sky. I guess, I think we should probably move on.
Let's get it going.
Probably went through this.
Yeah, it's 7:15.
He's got that, okay, yeah.
All right, so, just.
After 1 o'clock in the morning for me.
The summary on this thing is that I'm gonna ask, the town board if they would, let the tax folks in the town, you know, think about this, and I'd be happy to be the person that talks to them, and if anybody else, if we wanna have a duo, would be great, but,
I think we should move ahead on doing some kind of creative video. with
You know, something like that, or at least,
The
you know,
pamphlet, yeah, and also
whether it's a
I
video
already-
or a,
or
thing.
something, but I already have, I mean, I think a video would be more engaging. I'd have to just get permission from some
to
of the
get
clerks.
actors.
No, I would just have to get permission of these residents who have the IAs, who, if they're willing to participate in a video.
Right, well, let's, you know, I can, maybe the two of us can reach out a little bit. And I'll try to get some quantification of what's happened with the existing ones.
Yeah. But I was gonna ask, can you email, can we just discuss just toss in some questions that you think you'd like to have? Like, if you were a listener, what would you like to hear from a resident who has an IA? Like, just everyone come up with like 2 questions or something like that?
How much of a mess did it
You wanna
make?
know about?
Yeah,
No, I mean, and it can, I'm serious, it could be anything, just, you know, really what you wanna know about it, like, if you, like myths or things you heard, or I don't know. Tui?
okay.
You can come up with some.
I mean, so you want us to email
the
that to
two
you?
big things,
Yeah, email that to me. And then the other thing I was thinking, I already have, because of another project we had to do with SBA, I actually have all the contacts of all the associations. So
Okay, so we can
we'll
just, we're already
hold
good with
for
that.
now, but I was thinking I'll send around the Silver Beach brochure, the new one that we made, tell me just the idea of that kind of what it looks like. And then we
Okay.
could come up with some content. And then at that point, once we make the content, we can send it out. So we need to work on like this little blurb that we're gonna ask the presidents to email for all of their associations. Yes?
Okay.
well, again, I'm just going back to, so we did all this testing in the center, we figured out that there's no explosive issue that I don't want to say there's nothing that's bad, but there's enough that's out of whack.
Mhm.
Well, I don't know what's gonna happen in the Sunday meeting. Maybe people will come and maybe people won't come, right? Everybody who was invited. If they haven't bothered to do anything, are they gonna come to the meeting? Or do
Well, they haven't bothered to put an IA system in. But they may be interested in their water, how, the quality of, and getting some sort of thought about remediation.
But that's a
or
good
whatever.
question, like with this data now, what's the next?
Right.
And so.
It'll be interesting to know how many people actually show up Sunday to the meeting.
That's
The
a
last
5 o'clock.
WAC, the thing they did it, I don't think,
Yeah, they had a
it
pretty-
wasn't like packed, be proud, right?
It wasn't packed.
No, it was like
Probably the same
5 people,
suspects.
it's the same.
The usual
usual
suspects will come
suspects.
to this next one.
It's always the same 5 people that show up.
But people who are just interested in learning about it, that's different than, I've got a problem at my house, I need to fix it, what do you recommend?
Yeah.
Well, let's put in an IA system.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, what's that? Is that anything?
So we don't need to talk about the water testing, we did that. Financial report, we have a little handout that,
I did a little bit of feeling like you're asking for this monthly,
Mhm.
we could always figure. Figure the number of grants that are unpaid at this point, the number that have been paid out. How much has been paid out? This is cumulative over the years, almost $600,000. There's total funds in the bank of 3.1 million. 668,000 is encumbered for IA plus Cornell Cooperative plus. So available for future projects is almost 2.5 million.
on the unpaid, they're unpaid because people haven't completed them,
Either
because
they
certain people
haven't
can't get
started
green
yet.
stamps.
Yeah.
right?
I know, so,
Because you went through and eliminated a bunch of folks who basically were no longer,
because,
you, right?
Yeah,
Well-
yeah, so some, like people who like they sold the property, figured it out, so.
Right.
A little bit more cleanup needs to be done, but I'm giving Jessica.
initially,
place
the
to
well,
move.
the well was moved.
Dive into all of her committees before
Yes, indeed.
turn this
This
spreadsheet over to her.
Chemical smell.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
but some of that cleanup has been done,
Yes.
and it's endless to keep it.
Yes, exactly, I do have one or two questions.
The water doesn't need treatment at all. But it shouldn't get them to accept that.
Are we about there? Yeah, are we there?
We're just about there.
Old business?
Time for a
Business,
nightcap. Where's the grappa?
Old business, there's really no old business. I think we beat that up a little bit.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
Have at it.